She's
All
cool.
right. All right, Shem, you want to possibly touch on that last video? Because I know you got to get going too, right?
Yeah, here in a minute. I just think that I don't know. I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything like that, but it just seems like everything he was saying goes against a lot of the points that everyone was making here tonight. If God is God, there should be no human characteristics attributed to God. He's above everything else. He's above all of us. We're nothing like him. We could never be anything like him. If you go back to the original story in the Garden of Eden of the reason why humanity fell, it's because they ate of the fruit to become like God. That was what they were trying to do. That's what the serpent said to them. If you eat of this fruit, you will become like God. So that's the whole problem, is that people think that they're like God. People think that they can even equate themselves to God in any way, shape, or form. And that's the problem with our world right now, in my opinion. And even before that, when Satan got the angels to fall down to earth, which is the air, with him, he promised that they could be worshipped like God. He thought he was on an equal playing field with God. So it's the same lie over and over again that we've been fed from the beginning of time, if you look at it from a biblical context. So, like I said before, I don't know the answer to anything. I don't believe any specific thing. I look at things from multiple perspectives. But if we're talking in this context, that's how I feel about it. And I think that guy hit on some great points in his speech.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to, because the gentleman on the table obviously was like, where did God come from? And I think he was just trying to point out that, well, God's not limited to time, space, and matter. So he's just there. So we in this realm, we are limited by time, space, and matter because he created us, or this realm, everything around us. I think that's all he was really trying to get at. I might have to listen to it again if you got something different out of it like that. So, but again, that's why we have different perceptions, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that you could definitely see it from the point of view you're going from too, but it's probably just my prejudice and my preconceived notions of what it should be that made me think of it in that way. Because I think it's ridiculous to think that humans could be anything like God, or that God would need humans in any way, shape, or form.
I'll agree that I do not believe the creator needs us whatsoever. That makes no sense. But would he want to have a personal connection, that would make sense. But yeah, there was a lot to unpack and still to unpack, you know. So
Yeah,
There
I have
was
points
more
going back really far. I've been waiting. I've
Buckle
been
up.
waiting to elaborate on that for a while because ever since you were talking, like I think about 45 minutes ago, I had some points to make, but which we'll probably just have to talk about those either personally or maybe one-on-one conversation, because this whole lie just goes back to the beginning of time. I mean, Christianity from the time it was created, and all the stuff you're talking about in your essay, all these people, all these religions have been corrupted by this same lie, the serpent lie. Get knowledge and become like God. So all the religions that you were describing in that paper, they've all been corrupted in that way.
Yeah.
Like the Buddha, he was never intended to be what you were describing in that paper. He was literally, from a context of religion, he was the same thing as Jesus. He was preaching the same message as Jesus, but later on, humans came and they changed his message to what it is right now, right? Like when he saw suffering for the first time, and he left his compound for the first time because he wasn't allowed to see anything outside of the walls that he was a part of. He saw a man starving and he saw a man dying. That's when he gained that knowledge, just like in the story with the serpent. He gained the knowledge, and that's what corrupted him. Like,
go ahead, Bex.
I'd like to throw just a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of a wrench in things.
I like wrenches.
Yeah, in that, you know, this this overlap of like evolution and out of Africa kind of plays, and from nature, that they just presented right there. Joe Cool just presented that, you know, naturalism is a religious belief as well, right? And our science has elevated it to be fact, and even pushed evolution and all that jazz, right? So what I'm trying to say is that, what if we had that technology that sort of truther community is leaning towards, that at least, you know, how are these buildings built, right? Like this Garden of Eden, you know, what, like email may have been something electronic, right? Like we may have been a kind of technology that was so great that one bad guy, okay, stood in front of one of these iterations of creation after being, say, discarded, and was like, hey, here's some technology and some medicine, and I can turn you into just like them, right? And so the creation, even if this is, say, Lucifer's bloodline story, right, would be them telling, don't worry, it's not like they were punished, you could never breed again or something. Like, I'm just saying it's some sort of lesson here, right? And some sort of technology was given, and there's the snake and there's the apple, and I feel like they hacked. That's the whole point, is that it comes down to these hacks that actually end up interrupting code source, right? That suddenly they're disconnected from God because they've actually, you know, whatever, put themselves in a metaverse, chose to change their biology, breed with dogs for all we know, create giants, like be like, look, I'm God too, I can create, right? Look what I did with all your science. Look what I did with the mock. So, you know, I don't know. I think there is something to these stories that we're missing some of the potential, you know, back to that, were they smart in the garden? How smart were they? Did they have technology? You know, what are we talking about here? Like, what if we'd already gone full circle and Elon Musk had already sold us his metaverse? And we were in that space for so long, we had to break out of it, right? Because we were just spirits in a box, big black box that had all the information like an airplane, right? And we lived there peacefully, and we didn't need to go to the bathroom or anything. And maybe because maybe that's where God gave us our creative abilities to make him in his image, to just get out of that frickin' box. And maybe we got out of the box, and with us created, as soon as we got out, this material world was here, you know. So I'm just like, I'm trying to be a little more metaphysical in sort of the wrench we throw in. We tend to imagine our bodies to have been the same, or we were just spirit, or, you know, like, I just think there's more to the symbology of those stories. And again, the idea that people have been playing God and convincing their people that they are the God, and using potentially technology and Project Bluebeam since the inception of these books.
It's all on the table.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's possible. It's possible, but I don't see, like, what, I guess in that cosmology, are you saying that like a form of reincarnation happens where our memory is deleted? Like, why would we not remember this stuff if we were just programmed?
Well, because I think that any past lives anyone would, because I don't believe any of that. Like, I really think that there was that in the beginning, and that blinking of light and all that story, everything came into existence, right? Everything came into
Including us,
existence.
or are we later?
All of eternity, right? So, like that, all of us were there. We were, there's, I don't know, spiritually, we all had the same beginning, right? The very same beginning point. So, and I'm not saying that just as floating spirits. I'm saying like that I don't believe in past lives. I don't even believe that. I don't know. I'm just saying that I think that some of that stuff all fits into the idea. Like, what if we lived a long, long time before this, and what we remember or what we think is even prior to going into that box, and there never has. I mean, again, I don't know. I'm just saying that there's all these things that are coming up onto the table now. And it seems like if you're willing to go that far with all of those stories, is to, like, sort of hold their the thing that they're not telling us is, they said it was all allegory. They say it's all, they've changed the meanings of these words. I just don't see the evidence in front of me that this isn't death and life on top of Eden, right? That this here isn't actually post cataclysmic, some kind of high tech, beautiful realm that was designed for us to live in a totally different way than we are now. And that's part of the lesson, though, right? That it's not, that it is this soul sorting system. And, whether
really quick, Bexx, do you think that has to do with all of these resets that, people say happened?
I do think resets have something to do with the colonization of eternity, right? With actually setting all those events into sequence, not letting us know that we weren't always in a sequential time system. That time, days, and all that, sure, they happened, they came and they went, but that this, I don't know, I just think something has changed about time, if not shorter days, or, but I do think that, I don't know. I think there's a lot more metaphysics. There's a lot more to the physics. There's a lot more to the epochs, the eras, the time space continuum. The periodic table. I couldn't even get into I think the periodic table is a legend and a key for the time and space and resets of this realm, right down to decoding where to find uranium, where to find americanum. Like, there's, they had these names based on geography, on, it's just like the lies, they just don't stop, so if I was a creator, if I made anything as great as this, right, seriously, I would not humble it to be below me. No parent does that, but what the message was is, you can't do what I do. And I think that the system was hacked, and somebody showed, sure, I can do better. Look at these crazy things I can make, and then they got punished. And, I don't know, I'd have to look more into like how it all overlaps. But I do think if we don't look at time linearly like we're used to, I think we may find that some of the answers lie in that.
You should. I mean, yeah, you definitely should look more into how it overlaps, because from one cosmology, people say that Satan or Lucifer is the ruler of this realm that we live in now, and God is outside of it, and that's the reason things are the way that they are. So that could technically be the hacker that you're describing, because Satan is in control of the air, which is basically the earth. This realm is Satan's. That's why we have all these problems. That's why we have this free will, is because Satan is actually in control. Like, this is technically, it would be, I'm not going to say it's hell, but it would be similar to what hell is, because Satan is not currently in hell. He's in control of this realm, according to some cosmologies.
Right, and on top of that, it also states that he is the great manipulator, deceiver, and he comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and so on and so forth. So it's like, well, if that's his purpose and that's what he's about, and he is the great deceiver and manipulator, then technically what I get out of that is no matter how enlightened we think we might be, he is the great manipulator and deceiver. So if we allow him to deceive us, then that's how all that hacking happens. That's what he does. That's that's his purpose, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I
I
mean,
was trying to make the connection between what she was saying, because it's just a completely different cosmology. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, what do you think, Super?
About what exactly?
Just
anything, everything.
Yeah.
Change the subject. It's okay.
I
No, I was sitting here going, I felt like I was finally understanding more of Bex's angle of sometimes it's in there, but it takes a while. And then to hear it again, it's always like a review and an expansion or review sometimes. And like, and in my own head, I'm like, oh, now I see. Okay. And I feel bad that it took me longer, or it's just in that moment of, okay, yep. And then what I feel bad about is it's going to take me a couple more months, I was like weeks, to think on like what she's been saying, because we've had a conversation a while ago, Baxter. I was like, I've heard it before, but it's been a while. But the way you talk about it, it's like a good refresh of hearing it, to not just like when you listen to a video, read a book, it's like one way, but to have conversation, it was a two-way of actually like my brain going, okay, I've heard it, but I haven't heard like a fresh voice, I'll say, in a conversation to have with somebody. It's like a fresh voice of hearing it better, to see where you're coming from. And I'm sitting here, that's why I'm like really visually expanding on what you were saying. Like, oh. So my brain's got like fireworks going off of oh. of where you're coming from, because it is different to say, I'll just say the last 6 months of thinking on stuff and to hear it, and it's challenging, but I like those kind of challenging ideas of somebody else and how you see it.
I guess there is one thing I would like to say, and that is that no sophisticated system ever comes about without being thought first. Even if you want to go in the kitchen and make something, you better have a plan or it's not going to turn out. If you're going to build a deck, you better have a plan or it's not going to turn out. If you want to knit a sweater, you better count the stitches, have a plan, or it's not going to work out. So the idea of us crawling out of muck and ooze that happened by chance is so ludicrous as to be laughable. We had to be designed, planned, built. There had to be food and water for us before we were built. You understand? Like you can be an atheist only up to a point where you have to recognize the reality is that any sophisticated system had to be thought first. That's a foundation.
That's something really quick. That's something that I've heard others say in a sense of them. They would go like, I have no faith. I have no belief. I'm like, well, actually, you have belief and faith in what you're saying, do you not? It's like, do you not believe in what you're saying? Do you not have the faith, right? That what you're saying? So you have faith. Everybody has faith and belief. It's there. It's what you put it into.
Yeah.
right?
Focus.
It goes back to the whole money thing. Well, technically, everybody has currency now, but it's the greed that's the issue. So you have it. It's what are you doing with it?
Well, and I just want to say I don't claim to have any eschatology actually figured out. I mean, I may sound like I'm super convinced, and I wanted to correct myself with the splitting off from one creature into two, just to make sure I wasn't, forcing, being blasphemous and telling people to go look at Lucifer as their god. Because that's not what I believe, right? That is really, and then
No.
I also want to say I really hope we could do this again, because I really want to show you guys that I am listening. I love the challenging. I love the history that you bring, Shem. I love the knowledge of the Bible that you and David and everyone brings. Like I really love the that you would welcome me here with such a abstract understanding, because I'm not someone who I have deep dived into a lot of this. Like, I know I didn't convey that tonight, but I have been way down tons of faith rabbit holes, reading all sorts of stuff, but start
Just
to finish isn't my
conveyed
way,
it.
right?
You conveyed it. You to me, I want to say, if I'm like this outsider that's still kind of like this baby, I hate saying baby in Christ type of mode of saying I'm still so new, I want to say new and young to the mindset of my indoctrination would be entertainment.
Yeah.
If we all come from a background of having been instructed and taught by something, I was a put her in front of the TV so she's out of my way child. I was entertained and learned through the television, but I still am like challenging my upbringing to say,
Well,
yeah, I feel like some kids they were able to read and get into books, and there was books there, but I have learning struggles. So the television was very visual, and I still have my abilities to think outside of that box that was put in front of me so that I wasn't a burden or in somebody's way, because I was a burden. And I still learned from it because I wasn't just watching one program. I was watching multiple programs. It's just like having multiple genres of music and books on a shelf. The television or internet is still a learning tool and to help you think and expand, but you still brought more to the table than I expected, Bex, and I appreciate that. Even Shem and Sarah, no, Esra.
Esra.
And Super, I call him Super. I heard you talking with Richie on his channel the other day, and I looked at Joe and I said, "Did you invite him? He needs to be on the panel too." Because some of the aspects that you were saying were just so cool, of just saying who can be there. I think you invited a few others that couldn't make it because it's our time frame, and everybody being available it's not just limited to you guys, and being really appreciative of you guys being here, also saying, no, there's a few other ones out there. This could get really, really interesting to
That's
talk
when
about.
we had that day. He was on for 7 hours and 44 minutes. I was there for
Oh,
about
yeah.
5 hours, and we were like
Yeah.
a freight train. We must have touched on 200 topics at least. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people hear those all go by like a freight train, and they're like, "No, I want to pick that one apart. I want to pick that one apart." And then I found
Yeah.
out later some people were taking notes, like, "Oh, well, that I want to talk to them about that. I want to talk to them about that."
Mhm.
But Richie and I,
Yes.
we don't go really deep on many topics. We ask important questions, and we just touch on a lot.
Yeah,
Of
that's it's only, I think it's been a couple months of saying why I found his channel through some other mishap, funny enough. But I end up coming back as Richie is just sitting there. His channel is 007.
Mm-hmm.
We'll end up putting the channel links in the description box or in the comment
cool.
section.
Cool.
Sometimes it's hard to multitask with the chat. It's cool to have panels and discussions, hopefully like this one, but other channels out there for people just talking, even if they have differences, of just listening and passing the spirits that back and forth of me feeling like I'm a sponge. Like, feed me. I don't want to be like greedy on you. Feed me all of your what your insight is, but I'm like, I want to be able to contribute. I do want to give back and contribute in the conversation. And I come across to me myself as like I'm still the little preschooler. I just don't know how to keep the glitter in the jar and it goes everywhere because I want to know everything.
We
But
all have
it's
we all have pieces, and they're all important.
yeah,
We do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have to draw them out to say it might be a topic we don't want to really discuss, or we don't
right.
realize how that's going to be important to somebody else or
Mm.
whatever. So if you can kind of just let loose and be yourself, and some of the forbidden topics, I swear you can talk about them. You just have to phrase them in a question. You have to be smarter than the
Right.
AI, and you can get
And
away
that's
with
like
anything, right?
something
I mean, I
to,
don't want to prove it here on your stream, but I have proven it. So
yeah, it's something to learn as
how
a,
are we going to expand our minds if they tell us that we can't talk about another 100 topics they add to the list tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're the ones that are part of the keys to unlocking exactly what we're supposed to unlock too, because they're the ones they're telling us not to talk about.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that is exactly why I felt I felt the need to really pull something together like this because that this just it's not that it's not talked about, it's not really talked about, you know what I mean? Because like I mentioned earlier, you get some people who are no, you're right, no, you're wrong, or they're rough around the edges,
Yeah,
and
it gets childish, right?
they're too focused on what they know instead of being open-minded and going, hey, but like I mentioned, I think earlier, is the whole purpose or a huge purpose of this, because again, the thumbnail, right, was, are we physical? Are we spiritual? Okay, we answered that. And then the big question is, where do we go from here? Meaning, the afterlife. Well, obviously, we don't know those questions. We're not going to know. We can speculate all we want up and down, but we're
Mhm.
never going to know who the actual creator is. We're never going to know why we are actually here. We're not even going to know where we're going until it happens. Until we go boom and cross to the other side and everything is revealed, then we get to stand there and go, holy crap, whatever it is, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, but we don't know till we get there. But at least there's breadcrumbs that I think Shem and all of us are really trying to do, is sift through the corruption of all of it and go, okay, there's pieces here, let's take this from here, take that from there, put it together and go, ooh, I'm kind of seeing a possibility of some answers, you know? And
Joe, you have to consider that most of us, as we get wiser, and the ones of us that are digging the hardest to get these answers, and we're willing to go into uncomfortable gatherings to
yes,
get pieces from people that we normally wouldn't talk to, right? Those sorts of things. We have to ask the question: if you had always been an aware, etheric being, living in spirit form only, able to travel at the speed of thought, no restraints, less rules or no rules, however that works, right? And you were offered an opportunity to just spend one lifetime in a three-dimensional physical realm where you could touch and feel real things, would you have taken it? So that comes down to the question, are we here by choice, right? And if so, what was the alternate? Because maybe your soul was tucked away in the equivalent of a Coptic jar, right? And God came to you and said, look, you can stay in that jar, or you can take your physical chances on this sorting platform I call Earth. It's a physical plane. You're going to go there with no knowledge. You're going to have to figure it all out for yourself. And I hope to see you back here. Remember, I knew you before. I'll know you after. Wish you all the luck if you choose. You know what I mean? So, would you choose to have always been etheric, or would you go, I know it comes with pain and suffering, but I'm willing to take it for the tempering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an eternal etheric experience would be boring on some level where you go, I'll take the pain to do something different for a minute, because like from a physical or from a spiritual standpoint, you're already looking at forever. You've existed forever and you will exist forever from your standpoint, right?
Do you think I love that. And do you think that if God were to offer you that opportunity, that, without telling you his end game, that to just go back to spirit and then you're out there, you're like, man, I sure wish I could have a burger. Right. Like,
Right. Yeah,
I
yeah,
miss
yeah.
that. I miss that. Right. So,
Right.
I do think I really appreciate that sorting zone thing. Cause I do think that actually that the good-hearted people that really didn't need a lot of moral direction are here to challenge the ones that do need the moral direction. Right.
Maybe
So the free will.
part of it in the option is that he would tell you, look, on the bright side, if you do go down there, there's a chance you can help others. If that's in your makeup,
Well, and
right?
yeah, and maybe I can only see that if there's a, I can only imagine that there's levels to this creation, that if I was created something that was miraculous as these humans, and I would love to see them evolve. I would want to put them through tests that, at the end it's beyond just going back to what we knew. It's because, Bill Gates is going to go down in history 150 years from now as a good guy. He gets to write the books, and
or maybe it's maybe it's not even an option to do the wrong thing. When you're in spirit form, you can only do good. And if you come here for this test, you have an opportunity to do bad. But if it's in your makeup to choose to do good and help others,
yeah,
like even in the worst situation, you're still a glowing soul. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, I'd still say though that kind of like video games, like that the lesson would be, if you can't respect other people for 100 years or 80 years to 120 years, you don't get a longer life. Right? You don't get to have a longer life again, because you will exploit those people for 1,000 years. Or if they could live in a physical form, making choices that, even to be reborn and to remember, right? Because you get to be a baby again. That's the only way you'd get to be a baby, small again. I would just think that there's a lesson in making sure the greedy, evil people that think they're better than anyone else for whatever reason and can be misled down that path of betterness, over any divisive thing, don't get to play that game, because that seed in eternity would exploit someone for eternity, and that's disgusting, because they can already do it for, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
if you would do it for 100 years, you'll do it forever.
Exactly. And they don't get to play the next level.
Right. Hey, something else to keep in mind: science has never created an egg that would hatch or a seed that would grow. All they can do is corrupt creation, right?
Yeah.
So when they want
that's the
credit
key
for
thing
life
right
and
there.
all this nonsense that they want to take credit for, they didn't do any of it, and everything that they treat like God made a mistake and we have to fix it, like GMOing our food and trying to inject us with things and whatever. It's all to say God screwed up and only we can save you. We have to change your apples and change your bananas and change your potatoes and everything's got to change. We got to blanket the sky with nonsense.
Yeah.
We got to put water. You're going to need fluoride. Not only do you need fluoride, but like if you're washing your car, it could use some fluoride too.
And then man is the end all be all that made all this wonderful stuff, right? But hate yourself for making it and go back to fucking
don't forget
sitting your ass in the dirt. It's like it's cognitive dissonance right there. Like how can anyways, it's just ridiculous. How can what we do not be a part of this nature, even if we come from it?
Right. Nice talking to you, Bexx. I love it. Great.
That's
Good stuff.
That's the big thing. We are all not just we. Yes, we are all interconnected because, again, we have that longing for connection. But everything is interconnected, even with the creator. Everything is interconnected.
Everything.
He is outside time, so we are all connected to him as the creation. Everything. There's no way
And
around that.
yeah. Do you think birds needed to figure out how to make a nest? Right? Like I know they tell the three little pigs story, but like, you imagine a bird making a nest. He's like started out with diamonds. He's like, oh, cut my butt, right? That doesn't work.
Right.
Like, so why would humans, like, I know David mentioned having food and water ready, right? What if everything was everything we see, every cruise ship, every building, everything, right? What if it was all there? Clothing, beautiful fabric, tablets, right? Everything, airplanes, everything, right? Why can't, what's so hard about imagining that? If we knew that the bird was there with its nest, its program, its amenities, its lake, its children, its wings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to me, the earth shows us that was the realm created for us. And that even this technology, like that last video you showed, right? But even this technology actually is a system designed in harmony with us, in my opinion.
I think we should touch on the topic of miracles. It'll only take a second. People look at miracles every day and they're waiting to see a miracle. I can tell you for sure, every one of you has witnessed a miracle. If you're waiting to see one, you're just not looking hard enough or you're not recognizing them right in front of you.
Mhm.
Every seed that sprouts is a miracle. Every new life is a miracle. Look into the eyes of a puppy. Try to tell me that you're not looking at a miracle.
Yep.
And ask yourself, have I been overlooking every miracle that's been exposed to me my whole life? Really?
Yep.
Yeah, and you know what? That goes back to that. I I don't know how many saw it, but there was that. I want to say it's a comic. I forgot, but basically, there's that guy on the house on the top of the roof, right? It's flooded, and he's like, God, save me. And a boat goes by. He's like, no, I don't want that. God, save me. And, the miracle just keeps going by him. And, finally the water takes him over and he gets up there. He's like, why didn't you save me? He's like, what are you talking about? I sent you a helicopter. I sent you a boat. I was like, how much more do you want me to say? You weren't looking for it, my man.
Yeah.
You weren't looking for it.
I
If you,
sent you a
if you,
boat. I sent
if
you a
you,
plane, a bullet.
right. I, it's like you said, if we're not even looking, we're gonna miss it.
You're going to miss it.
Guaranteed. And I have had many instances, in my own personal experiences where, sometimes you have to look and listen, you just like you said, it it's there. It's there. He's there. It's all there. You just need to pay attention. But if you go around thinking yourself is you're your own God and you don't need to pay attention and you can do bad on your own, well, I guess have at it. That's I can't I just can't subscribe to that. That's because that goes in with the never-ending cycle of there's and that's another thing. So I think that's something that another attribute or trait that we have is hope, right? that's something that we all have is hope. We hope for a better life, or we hope that something good happen. There's hope. So if there
Absolutely.
is hope, it's like, come on now.
Zionists and Phoenicians. I wish I could talk to this person.
Who?
Derry A. Dearney.
Oh, what did he?
I don't know. They've just been saying crazy stuff the entire night. The Zionists are not Phoenicians thing's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. Has it occurred to you that your icon is a military man? Ooh, what?
I think
I
that was
don't.
a message to
That
Isabella
might. Yeah.
2.0.
Oh, that's got to be for somebody else. You know, which honestly, when Shem first came on and I saw him with the Marines hat, I was like, haha. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, yeah, Semper Fi. You know, but
No, I'm not a Marine. My grandfather, this is his hat, and I just miss him, and I wear it sometimes because I just want to like honor him and stuff because I'm an idiot. But hey, what can you do?
oh no, I'm right there with you. I'm not a Marine either. My father, he's a Marine, from Vietnam, and he's still alive. He is still around. However, his health has been way on the downside for a number of years. Actually, he technically shouldn't be here, so miracle, right? And because he has congenitive heart failure along with lung stuff. Like he's a wreck, and
Probably all
he's been that way for years.
Agent
So
Orange almost for sure he was exposed to.
it's very, very highly possible, and it's
Sorry to
you
hear that.
know, I'm glad to, still have him around to call, and I'm sure you wish you did, Shem, as well. So I probably will be wearing a hat myself. It's some due time, So I get this. I definitely get the sentiment there because it's
I'm sorry
kind
to
of.
say I feel sorry for those people because they were tricked and forced into going to war more than I feel like thankful for their service. They were tricked into playing war games
Mm.
against people that they didn't know. They were asked, they were forced to make decisions against their morals. It's just warfare is completely wrong to me. To honor somebody or to be thankful for their service or whatever when they were doing immoral things in my name, no, I don't feel that.
Yeah, it's a psyop on the human psyche.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't support the Marines. It was his hat, and it's the only thing I have from him. So,
Well, I'm not passing any judgment. I'm just saying I'm not thankful for people that, like for their service toward their, toward the
Yeah,
benefit for the
when most of the
of our ideals on the rest of the world, imposing ourselves. I don't know. That's all wrong, man.
my dad's dad was in the Navy, and he did it out of paying the bills back in the late 40s. I believe it was after the Second World events. He doesn't talk about it, even though he says I was. He goes, I was just the chef on a Navy ship. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't. It's not like he's proud of it. It was just something to kind of do to survive. Making friends and connecting with people, because it's like even today with most people having to get a job, let alone the last 3 or 4 years of how crazy things have gotten. A lot of people have been pushed into something they had to do. And when you look at most of the recruiting offices for, joining the military, they're in poor communities. They're not in rich neighborhoods.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And they took away all the jobs in this country, so they made it seem like the military was a viable job option. And let's look at the suicide rates involved in that and see how that works out.
And
Not
also
good.
the homeless rate. It kind of ties back to what Super Sidewinder was saying earlier. It's just they trick them into doing it because it's a promising life, and then it ends up being completely different than what most of them imagined, and it shocks them to the point where they can't even be a part of society afterwards.
Absolutely, that's part of the rejection. They call what do they call that? The trauma, the post-traumatic stress, or whatever. Part of that is being forced to make immoral decisions and go against your creator. Right? They tell you shoot the yellow man. I said, dude, my enemy is you telling me to shoot somebody.
Exactly.
That's my
Hey
enemy.
guys, I gotta get going. I appreciate all of you. I hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Bye, Shem.
Thanks.
Pleasure to
Thanks,
see you as
Shem.
always.
That was good.
You're muted. I'm like, you're muted.
You guys have been awesome. Thanks for hanging out without, saying it Godzilla style.
I was typing a message to y'all in the back chat, but we're all right here, except for Shem now. He missed it. So, I just really want to say thank you guys so much for like your kindness and your insights and your time and your supportive comments of me. And I really appreciate your patience. I really like this format on a panel. I'm a lot more used to a different format, and I know I can be a mic hog. I definitely don't think that my thoughts are any more important than anyone else's, and I really work hard to try and learn with each opportunity to show you that I am as good a listener as I am a talker, and that I love to listen just as much as I love to talk. So I look forward to having an opportunity to prove that in action, and in the way I respond to you guys. My brain works in oh hey, that I have an idea just like that, or oh hey, that sparks this, more than it does to be like, oh, what I heard you saying, or a direct question or stuff. So I see that happening I saw that happen tonight, and I really look forward to hopefully we can do this again. And not that I'm trying to leave, or I'll go whenever you want me to, but I really look forward to sharpening those skills in this setting with minds like yours in this kind of forum for sure. So
I'm glad that you came on. Personally, I'm glad that you came on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't, like I said, we technically don't have a time frame, so to speak. It's, it's already 3 a.m., so whoopee-doo. It's
yeah, I think it's earliest for me, right? It's
like,
only midnight.
It's all good. But yeah, again, it's, like I said, it's character. It's the character of people, and that means so much to me. And there are really good people out there like you guys, and that's why I couldn't wait to get you guys on the panel. And I honestly, in all reality, I have been kind of sifting through the community, if it, as it were, seeing who would possibly be receptive, who would want to, come on and join. And, I would watch certain people on panels, like you mentioned, Bexx, where they're a little more argumentative and more, maybe one-sided. And then, again,
Thought-provoking.
It's
thought-provoking tendencies. You're making me think. You're making me think.
Right.
Wanting that challenging, thought-provoking of going, yeah, I heard about it, but if there was a limitation that for some reason my own thoughts hit a wall at the time, open to have conversations with everybody. That's the open-mindedness of just having conversation and not being, I'm going to be so stuck in my ways because I'm just tired and I've decided that this is where it is. You're not going to have a conversation with somebody if you're stuck in your ways. You're going to have arguments and debates and headaches, I think. And instead of, like, I'm ready to have conversations and hear what other people have to say. I think that's why I have like almost 300 channels on my subscription list. Joku was like, "How do you have like 300 channels?" I go, I'm out there listening to not just music, but what everybody else has to say. And a part of it feels like I'm a little more mature to handle different ideas to a certain limitation of if I feel creeped out, wigged out, like heebie-jeebies kind of stuff, I stop myself from listening to it because that's just some like spider sense tingling limitation I have. Or if I just get
it goes way
more-
beyond the five senses. We have so many more than the five senses they tell us about. If you consider like that when the hair on the back of your neck stands up, what you're saying, spidey sense, like you get a bad feeling or somebody's staring at me or whatever, that's a sense, right?
Oh yeah.
If you can feel someone else's pain, that's a sense. Every woman who's
Yeah.
ever had a child has empathic skills. They were linked to that child. They wake you from a dead sleep from 3 rooms away if they breathe wrong, right? I mean, there are so
Sometimes.
many senses that we have to acknowledge.
Like, not if they kept you up the last 48 hours.
You know what
You
I'm
finally
saying?
knocked out.
Hey, I want to mention
I'm
something
like-
real quick. We started a music server where people can mix music. It's so hard for us, like the like-minded people like us. The same thing happens in musicians where we're all scattered across this plane or whatever. So we have a server set up where you can submit files or you can look through other people's files, pick songs you want to be a part of. If you can sing, whistle, hum, or play an instrument or write lyrics or anything, we'd love to have you involved. I put a link in the private chat. If you don't mind, Joe, maybe on the way out or whatever, you can play. And we're calling it Jam Depot. It's not a band. It's a place where people can get together and mix music and do whatever part you feel comfortable with.
Oh, cool. So, okay, so it's kind of like
Yeah, a lot like that.
or maybe
Touch this. You can't touch this.
Yeah, we could get there. I mean, if you need that done, we could get that done. Yeah. Which are you the singer in that, or which part do you play, Joe?
no, you know, probably JJ's might have probably play them all in my head, really.
Yeah, right.
They're in there just, you know.
You got a party in your head
He's the Looney Tune.
All the time. I really do, and so sometimes JJ's kind of like.
You do that? Oh well, and the chop flew, so I lunged, and then the floor slipped, and then, whoo, and I just flipped. You know, I guess you just kind of had to be there.
Yes, apparently so.
You had to be there because the floor slipped. She didn't slip on the floor. The floor slipped.
Yeah.
Like a Looney Tune.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. This has been wonderful. We should do it again. We might want to take some notes so that we can go around the panel and ask one intelligent question of everybody on the panel. Just giving you like a spitball idea. I think we'd get more out of people if we ask them all the same question, give everybody a minute to respond or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. The first couple questions, you know, just to kind of get the ball rolling to see where it would go. But yeah,
I think like everybody has something to say on every topic, but we don't want to step on each other. And if you breeze past the topic and you don't get somebody's piece, we're not going to step up, right?
Another thing you could do is send your questions out ahead of time so that people are prepared. I know it would work well for me. I used to do comedy. You shave off minutes, right? Shave out words, pull that out, pull that out, pull that out. Not that you're going to read off it, but just as a good exercise to focus your brain, and people do it or don't do it, you know, with the understanding of, hey, you got, you know, 90 seconds because
Yeah.
we want to dialogue about it after, right?
Yeah,
You
good.
know, right?
Joe was like, Bex asked me if she should be like aware of a topic or something, or just bring your brain. Isn't I think that's she's
So I
the one
said,
that.
"You want me to bring something or just my brain?"
Yeah.
And he's like, just your brain, and he's like,
Your
I could
brain.
feel the whole. I don't like being put on the spot. Can I be a little bit more prepared? I said, just confirm with her that what's in the thumbnail is what you're just trying to. That's the only notes he's trying to go off of, and that Joe wanted to be more presenting something and then have everybody talk about it, trying to be as closely related to the thumbnail as like he had more, and I told him to dial it back because I said
Well-
you're going to have more than one person there. There's a conversation even just off of what color is the sky.
but it's great to know. It's great because like coming with too many questions, say three of us say you don't say only one of us had shown up, right? You know, luckily you guys are a couple, so you've got three, right? Like, you know, so it actually works out well to have extra questions more than you're going to go over. Also, if it goes really well, you can make a part 2 and continue, you know. So I really think it's you can't, you know, and again, like I felt like this we stayed really focused on the topic. You know, people were able to give some backstory. I mean, maybe I took it a little, I don't know, maybe I didn't focus at all. I'm not sure. I know I did. I'm just joking about the
Bex is
direction
the
I took
main
it in.
attraction. You're the main attraction. You got a lot of like insight. I call it insight. Your personal experience is insight. What you've been reading is insight. Because to me, what you dove into, I'm sitting here going like, and how you're connecting it. I'm visual when somebody's
But
talking.
to hear, to hear Shem come from an intellectual angle of study, and then to have David say so much in so succinctly and in so few opportunities, I feel like I might have. Anyways, I'd like to talk to you more for sure, David.
I feel the same.
Because I think that especially like when you first went, we're in a hell realm and I gotta get out of here, and I'm like, oh no, no, and that's why I was shaking my head. I was like, oh, it hurt my heart. My heart was hurting, right? I mean, like, just because so many people have so little hope, right? You know, that I was like, thought that, and then to have everything you said after that was just like, you know, like it's weird how we can react to words. It's like we're taught to react to buzzwords. I wasn't going to nullify you anyway. I was already ready and open. I'm here, right? You know, but still, I was on guard at first. I was like, oh no, hell realm person. Like, you know, like just in that sense of like, it's doomsday and it's over and, you know, there sucks and there's no God. And, you know, like, I'm so grateful.
I'm very complicated that way because I think for myself. I don't, you know, I don't follow doctrines. I don't follow the ways of man. And I don't care. I would rather come on here and just be blindsided by, you know, 15 questions that's going to go, you know, get passed around and get everybody's take on every question, right? I don't need the prep. I'm ready. Ask me anything. Go ahead. I'm ready. You know?
I feel the same way. You know, I love that. I have people jump up on panels and they're like, you know, I just hopped up because it's just a topic I know something on, and they're passively aggressively, you know, directing it at other people who are always there, right? And they're like, oh, and then they say their piece, and you know, they try to be like, I try to just come up here when it's only something, so you know, there's room for other people, right? And then in my mind, I'm thinking, but I just feel like I could talk on anything. Is there,
right?
You know, like, but that's, you know, so. I mean, for me, that's why when I'm on panels that are open, I'm like, I'll hop off anytime, right? I'll hop off, just say the word, get in the back chat. I'll hop down, I'll hop back up. I'm watching, I'm here, I'm in the chat, I'm here, right? So, you know.
I'm flexible.
Yeah, I saw Shem with a pen and a piece of paper, and I think I need to start doing that.
Me
I think,
also.
I think it would be helpful because I think then I wouldn't jump in with like, I just put a few points down and be like, by the time I got to my point to speak, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's not so important. You know, I'd be able to prioritize, you know?
I get a kick out of it. Don't change on my behalf.
I'm learning to do, wanting to do both. I think you touched on it, Bex, of being able to talk about anything is like a healing process. to be able to be open to talk about anything. Sometimes
Yeah.
I catch myself being like holding back because it's revealing a sore topic, I guess, that I want to talk about it, but I didn't know it was so like guarded in its own box inside me somewhere where I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's gonna get kind of nasty. All right, I need to go figure out what I'm holding on to not open that door. A lot of times, it's I'm usually just this emotional wall of tears has to come out first for a lot of stuff.
If you have a lot of things shoved away like that, it's a real problem because it's a deluge. If you open that door, it all comes flooding out. You need to find a way to pull one of those, I call them terror topics, out of your drawer and face it head on, share it with someone close to you, and find a way to deal with one at a time. Because, like I said, if you open the gate and they all come out, then it's tangled up in emotions and you can't think logically. So it gets clouded.
Oh yeah, 'cause there's been some things recently that I didn't know that were buried inside me, and it just
Me too.
I'm like, I've seen this commercial 1,000 times, but in the last 2 weeks, I've heard different people talk on channels. Like there's this overlapping peeling away that all of a sudden I wasn't saying I'm upset because I'm crying. He's looking at me going, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know, but I just need to, let the."
Ooh, I had a whole day like that. I went out with Richie in a really early morning stream. I got up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was just beside myself. I felt like something close to me really just went wrong, or something in the world, like just a dark energy. I don't know if I let my guard down. I never did quite find out like what it was. It wasn't anything real close to me, as far as I know. But I was like in a spiritual dark place for half a day, and I needed to talk to somebody, and I live alone, and it was like, what do I do? Richie went on, and I'm like, Richie, I don't know how to tell you this, man, but I need somebody to talk to, and he kind of talked me down. It turned into a pretty good stream, but it took me 6 hours to shake the feeling, and I had it again the next day. I'm like, what is this, man? Something weird.
All right, let's all embarrass Paul What the Flock TV. How you doing, buddy? Paul What the Flock.
Spellomatology.
How you
It's
doing, buddy?
spellomatological Paul.
Yes. What up, Black?
I love it.
That was the only thing I could think of at the time.
That was it.
I cut it short because we were talking, saying hi.
I know.
Oops.
I have since he coined spellomatology, so I coined spallomatology.
Hey, Paul What the Flock. I highly doubt it, but I put the StreamYard link in there anyway if you want to join, because, why not? That's the type of people we are. If you want to hit the StreamYard link there, Paul, and hop on with us for a little bit, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Who doesn't want some Paul What the Flock time? Come on.
I would pay for it if I had money,
Right? You ain't lying.
I know you guys said you were going. I've been going through a lot as well. Big shift changes. I did some right things to nurture myself right off the bat. I also am on a disability pension, but I just started a year ago, and I immediately went and got a job because while you're waiting to go on that pension, you're actually super impoverished and you're not allowed to work. Right. So, and you can work once you have a disability pension. But I did some weird thing and just took on this job where I literally moved like 1,000 pounds to 4,000 pounds a day. And I am disabled. Anyways, I burned out about 6 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, because about, I don't know, 10 weeks ago, I told my boss, you better hire people for the summer. Already I'm working too hard. Right. I'm 50. Right. I shouldn't be doing this. Hire, Anyways, but I did decide that my body got so sore and I was so tired, like a week into wedding season, that I just stopped going to work because she wasn't hiring people. Right? I'm just like,
Yeah.
I can't do this. You're gonna have me suddenly moving 4,000 pounds a day, like hire people. Right? So I was just like, it's so unlike me, but it was so empowering. I'm like, I think I've realized that I should work in your slow season. Right? Like, who does that? Who gets a job? Like, I go off for the summer and everybody else works, right? But that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah, right.
Right? You want me, that's how it's gonna be.
I feel the same way because I'm not 20 anymore. I'm 40,
Yeah.
and I feel like we moved from Michigan to Florida. My body's able to heal in this environment because it was hurting because of the cold, and then just I think the overall environment. But the cold was 90% of the problem. After whatever is affecting the body of the environment, I can sit here and have a hot flash while I'm sweating in the humidity, and it doesn't make me feel sick. Where if I was having a hot flash and I'm sweating like crazy, but even in the summertime, it can still be pretty cold and chilly and just not favorable for me to feel better, to heal. Luckily, Joe was raised in Florida, so he's happy to be back to his home state. It's more of his home state. And I'm just loving the environment. Like, I kind of want to say, I feel like I'm on vacation, but it's not. It's just I'm adapting to living in this better suited environment for me. But as much as I'm feeling better and healing and figuring out my sleep cycle and my whatever has disturbed my life, from being food allergy issues to environmental issues, or am I just a lunatic because my sleep pattern is more lined up with the moon? I'm awake when the moon is awake. And I always thought it was just I was a night owl, and I had to force myself to be on a schedule where you were up at a certain time because that was the 9 to 5, but it was 7 to 2 schedule, and it was making me sick and pushing myself to, well, it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger, and you're young, getting all the excuses or the reasons to say I'm not 20 anymore. When I was 20, I still hated it. I still felt something was weighing me down and making me feel sick because I wasn't synced up. That's not my sync schedule. I am not a sun person, except for early morning. When that sun comes up, I'm ready to crash. And when that sun goes down, maybe an hour or two before sunset, I'm up. Like
I
I've
think
had
there's a big group of us that are wired that way. I call us the night watchmen.
night watchman. I'm like, I was telling somebody else the other day, and he goes, "Oh, so you're a lunatic." I was like, "Oh,
That's
now I
funny.
get it." Because I've heard it before. It's been years since I heard the correlation of lunatic with the loon cycle, whatever.
Yeah.
This buffering.
That's funny.
Aside from being female, and they talk about the calendar with the female womanhood issues that it is
Tied to the moon. Yeah.
moon. But there are some females that are sun people, and I'm like, huh. I'm open to figuring this out even when Joe and I, when we got together, because of his background teaching, was still going, this is the no list because the Bible said so. You're not supposed to look at the sky, and you're not supposed to know this, and you're not supposed to look into that like you're going to worship it or something. Instead of, it's there for guidance to help you realize you're an energy force. You have an energy. There's a connection with you and this earth, this realm. The sky is like a clock. However, little baby steps. Looking at it, I had to look at it all over again in the last 6 months to a year, because I looked at it when I was younger and I was very curious about paranormal activities. I watched the horror movies and stuff. Like, it was the best thing.
We could do a whole show on that topic, especially right now. That's a
Yeah.
hot topic, and I've got a lot to say on that topic, but I don't want to do it here because it'll blow up into another 2 hours. So
Yeah. It's there's the changes of life of going, how you were saying it, Bex, of you felt empowered and you felt good. When you feel good, you want to keep going, but then all of a sudden you burn out because you push yourself too hard and someone else is taking advantage of you. you
Yeah.
burn out, and that sucks. I hate
I think-
burnout because I had to leave my job because of that, and I really enjoyed my job.
Mhm.
But I had to take care of my kids over somebody else's kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that in terms of health, my latest revelation since discovery of the alchemical periodic table and looking into a symbol and a symbol change for a friend and my own theories on time and space and relativity and stuff like that. And suddenly looking at roots in words, right? The roots in words, like we're so used to the, like I did the whole misunder restanding bullshit earlier because they really love to convolute things for us, right?
Yeah.
But I've unlocked the electricity in the language. Okay. Like, it's in so much of our language, it's ridiculous. And even probably the root words that we don't even realize are electrical, so like I concur, a bond, right? Like I just go on and on. Like I just don't, I don't even have to start.
Current,
Right? It's like,
currency. Got current.
yeah, like and there's so much about us. Even if we got into introspection, you'd be surprised with the spect. I know it's there, right? The diction.
Believe and belief have a lie right in the middle.
Well, but also that's actually a misnomer. They've put an E in there to throw us off. Believe is to believe, right? It's to imagine, it's to use the image, right? To be made in that image, to use the image, right? Like that allows us, and I don't mean like to make things that aren't, but to create, like that's what we have, an attack on creation going on, like of all sorts, like right down to the 40-hour work week, right? It starts there actually. They tell us stories of slave labor, yet you look back in the history books and there's nothing but unions. Everybody had a union. Everybody had a uniform, right? It's like McDonald's rolled us out,
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Even positive words like live is evil backwards.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it's a silent.
But when it comes to this health, like we've been told it's all biology. It's all biology.
Yeah,
it's all the body,
it's all physical,
right? And it's like this metaphysical aspect is really important. Like no loving God would even allow things. No creator would create us in the love that they have, right? When we're under attack, to not have everything be capable of being flipped on its head, literally. Why would some people be able to eat, Wagyu beef and organic mangoes and whatever, while somebody else gets nothing but Ichiban noodles, and a yam once in a while, and then have it be like, and then have it seem that health is all, and then have those same doctors selling you that health. My dad was one of them, right? Say vitamins don't really do anything, and the food, like, oh, I gave up weed and my psoriasis went away, and oh, that's just a miracle. Totally unrelated. Like they don't even understand physics themselves. I mean, chemistry themselves, right? And why would we separate chemistry from physics or biology when look at us? We're made of crystals. We're made of freaking crystals.
Why would God make you with extra parts like your appendix? They tell you don't need it, or your tonsils.
Exactly. What if the appendix?
You don't really need those. You know what I mean?
Exactly. What if the appendix has the ability to like make you another heart?
And
like I'm just saying, why would it be called the appendix?
In need of pharmaceuticals made of petroleum. Come on, dude. Wake up.
Well, but why would you even let them convince us that petroleum is something evil? Everything's organic. Everything is alchemically capable of being metaphysically changed, alchemically changed with its antidote, right? Everything here has some sort of it's like a video game, only it's reality, right? So even the petroleum, which is an organic goo that they've convinced us is poison, which used to be all the medicines. It might be
they call it sweet crude, right? They want to tell you,
like I'm not saying
dinosaurs, what we're going to call it, sweet crude oil. Come on, dude.
Yeah. So I'm not saying like drink it, but I'm also not saying don't assume because they make a food product out of it, it's poison. The poison is putting you in a position where they give you information full of fear and no ability to change your environment, right? What I got, what I got from the beginning of that breakdown of those religions, not to put it just on Islam, because a lot of faiths would have it as well, but I do appreciate the Islamic faith, is that, you know, that, I sidetracked myself, but basically that, you know, that's the control we have right now, right? So and I'm not saying just because you believe it, believe it, you know, imagine it, right? Not fantasize about some unreality, imagine it. We might be keeping the world round based on our imaginations, for all I know.
Imagine
You know?
breaks down to I'm a genie.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a genie. I'm a mage. Okay, a mage.
I'm a mage. Yeah.
You know, like I'm mage, right?
You
So
could write a song
I'm not
like that,
saying you
baby.
can
I'm a
steer your
mage. That's the way you treat me all the time.
the sooner we start understanding to not put all the credit in biology when we're already sitting here being like, stupid meat suit, I hate you.
Yeah,
Right? You know, it's like God gave us, you know, like,
You stupid meat suit, you betrayed me.
like you're just temporary. You're just temporary anyway. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll
You
eat
know,
this
it's
sucker
like,
if I want to. It's
when-
my damn body, anyways.
what? We hate our bodies so much we must think man made them. Oh my God, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Because man's the only thing that can fix them. Come on, listen to the doctors.
You know, like it's just like
you don't trust science. What's going on?
Oh, intention.
Ooh, I've unlocked some motive, and that motive is
Oh shit! I wish I could high five you right now. You're a gem. Bexx, you're a gem.
Aw, thank you, David.
Yes. Oh, keep going, Bexx. You're on fire. Go. I want to see smoke.
Bexx is fiery.
I met Blue on Charles Watt's panel the other day, and he and Charles has technical difficulties, so we ended up being the only two talking for quite a while, and we really riffed off each other. It was like actually changed my brain like I'm just you know, so I appreciate you know, it started a long time ago, but my point is I woke up the next day, saw a similar panel up there, and I hopped on. Right? I was like, just woke up, and I was like, so singular, you saying, and the first thing Blue was like, did you just wake up? Like, yeah, I did. Right? He's like, do you wake up like this? Yeah, I do. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wake up like this. I do. But yeah, it's okay. It's not believe. It's Bell Eve or Baal Eve. It talks of the evening of a ceremony of Baal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to take the words back from them though. So we're going to believe it. We're going to believe it. And that means like beforehand, plan the living thereof, right? Like imagining, right?
Yeah.
You know, because to beget something or to become something or to be dash something is like a future of it, or it's a statement of the done. It's done. It's done.
Yeah, it's
right?
like so let it be written, so let it be done.
It's double done. Right?
I wonder because of the spelling. Because of spelling, the struggle with grammar. I say.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna correct. Yeah, I'm gonna say believe from now on. And people are like, "Don't you mean believe?" I'm like, "No, that's a lie. That's Baal, and a Bell Eve, Baal Eve. It's the evening of ceremony between Baal."
This is a struggle I've had since grade school when we're teaching even sight words to the phonetic system. Spell it like it sounds, and boy, did I take them to church. I was like, spell it like it sounds. Like, how did you get that out of that? I said, because you're just now, look at it now as an adult. You're trying to teach me these rules that don't match up to what you're showing me.
Oh man, a lot of them, especially that old rule. I before E, except after C. That is so out the window now. It's crazy.
Oh.
Have you never heard
It
the whole
almost
thing?
never works anymore.
Have you never heard the whole thing? I never had either, but there's a
I
whole.
had once. I
There's
can't-
more to it. There can't be. No,
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
I wouldn't want to know. I mean, that alone is hard enough.
And it's wrong. It's wrong more than it's right anymore.
Well, I think they've been changing the freaking English wording and verbiage forever to keep
Yeah.
us confused to begin with. Because the more, again, it goes back to, the Morning Star and being the manipulative, deceitful thing that he is. That's his game. That is
Great deceiver.
that is literally his playbook.
Yeah. That's the abracadabra spell.
So constantly changing the wording, verbiage, and oh my gosh, you got one word like bear. How many definitions can you get from that one word alone? Well, which bear is it? Is it BAR? Is it B? It's like, oh my god.
Right?
Bear in the woods.
How can you
Bear
look
with
at the same word
bear
and
me.
pronounce it two different ways? Live and live.
Read or
LIVE,
read.
same thing. Yeah, same.
That's why I was like,
Mhm.
it depends on your intentions of
Make
using
up
it.
your mind. You're right.
Like, I'm
Okay.
gonna go with silent E's are the worst. Any silent letters actually, like knife,
Yep.
knee.
Kniff.
Or even using a PH for an F sound, like the word phone. That should be FONE. Simple.
Right. Joe Cool and I did our stream last week with these pirate articles from 1790s to 1900s, and there was this change of using F's and S's, and they were using them as the same thing for certain words.
Yeah.
Because in the same article was an actual F, an actual S, but with certain words, there was one that had 4 F's that were also S's. That was just mind blowing to see how they used to write. Like everybody had a lisp, is the only thing I could compare it to.
Wow.
It was such a tongue twister, but we made it as fun as possible to sit there and read through it. I was like, wow.
Tiffany is funny.
I've seen
Yeah.
that before. I've actually met somebody,
Oh,
their parents spelled it tip. Like she would tell people, like leaving a tip. Tiffany is how they wanted to pronounce it. But even when you looked at it like tip funny with PH, she goes, no, it's tip. Like tipping your hat or leaving a tip. It's Tiffany. Like it was a double enunciation or something with the PH. I was like, I've met somebody with their name. I was like, but she's like, my mom picked it, and I'm just going by what she said, why she picked it. It's like, my name is Jamie, but the I is not where everybody puts it. The I is not next to the E. And there's several ways to spell a gender-friendly name like Jamie. And it's annoying because it took me 37 years to get a keychain with my name spelled correctly on it without asking somebody to make it. I was like, it was just sitting right there. I was like, the I is next to the A and not the E. I felt so special.
Wow.
I have to do it. I gotta do it.
When you tell somebody something, it depends on what part of the United States you're standing in as to just how dumb you are.
Mm-hmm.
Depends. Yes, no, it still does. And that's just what city you're in, depending on which county line you're standing on. It's not just part of the country, but.
Look, I just want you to know I don't appreciate anyone slamming my American brethren in my presence. Okay? I was just
You're
joking.
Canadian.
I know. I was just saying, like I always like to. It didn't land well tonight, but maybe I said it too seriously.
No.
I was just joking. It's just that
I was like, what?
out there in the world, people are always slamming you guys, right? It's like, you
As
know,
States people?
oh yeah, the memes up here in Canada. Well, I don't know if it's the world, but the memes in Canada are just like the smuggest thing you ever did see, right?
I was, who were
Um,
we talking to? We were talking
Pardon?
to some the other day, and they're not from the States. And and they were like, oh, was it Richie? Was it Richie from 007?
probably.
I was
Could be.
listening to a bunch of shows from the 90s, and I mentioned like Roseanne, and he goes, yeah, Roseanne, we watched that over here because he's in Spain or something. And I never, it's Europe or other countries are usually like decades behind with shows that were in the 90s are now the shows that they probably watched in the last 5 years. And he was like, yeah, Roseanne, something or other. And I said, Roseanne is pretty much 100% of the average American home in the States. From growing up in the 90s, it was so relatable. I got to watch it as a young kid. And he was talking about Darlene and her boyfriend, and then going on to the Big Bang story of the actors and stuff. But I'm like, oh, a lot of these shows are very much what living in America is like. I wouldn't have admitted it in the 90s in itself, but 30 years later, I'm like, no, that my family life is very similar to Roseanne. And the shows before that, because lately I've been watching the Carol Burnett show, or reruns of stuff on YouTube because it's free. It's sitting right there. There's no commercials for me, anyways. And then there was Mama's Family, which is a spinoff. And then there was All in the Family. And there's this, I'm sitting there watching it going, I watched them growing up. And these are shows from the 70s, 80s. And I'm watching it in the 90s, and Dick at Night channel. And I'm sitting there going, there's such a heavy toxicity
Oh yeah, dude.
that we view as comedy, but it's still real because it was very relatable to parts of me being brought up and feeling like I'm part of the family, but I'm a burden to the family. And they took care of me, but there was still this negative disregard of being around in the family.
It's all an intentional part of destroying the nuclear family.
Yeah.
It's
And then
one-
you have shows that were so fantasy like. I think someone mentioned something like the Brady Bunch I think it was the Brady Bunch, and I said that's fantasy. Much like Seventh Heaven, that's fantasy. That is so rare if there is
Third Rock from the Sun, the Big Bang Theory. I mean, how much?
I'm like Malcolm in the Middle, dysfunction and miscommunication.
Yeah.
But with a huge amount of no respect for each other. You can have miscommunication and be, separate, like so many different personalities living under one roof.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it has to be toxic. It just means, hey,
more hands should make things easier.
Yeah. But even the shows, they reflected more as being toxic, and that there needs to be an authoritative figure ruling over everybody to get shit done. And I'm like, but that's not true. It works better with just understanding different personalities, taking time with each other, and not being toxic and controlling, and or just annoyed with somebody and constantly disregarding them. Because my whole life, I have a sister who doesn't talk to me, and I have no idea why. I genuinely have no idea why. It's nothing that was from adulthood. This spurred up from me not being able to even speak as a kid. She detested me. And I have no idea why. And I grew up with my mom telling me, you should make things, nice with your sister. And I'm like, but I didn't start it. I have this memory of I have no idea why she doesn't like me. And you put it on me to make things not right, but however she played it off as with my sister. And I'm like, but I didn't start it. And obviously to my mom, I tell her, like, you're not helping because you're not sitting down trying to figure out what was the problem. And I come to find out my mom because there's this stain between their relationship that spurred up from the parents of how they were raised, that there's this bitterness.
So it's
and
kind of, yes, it's hand-me-down toxicity. It's no good for anybody. You have to dispel that at some point. I've found really the best measure of, like, if you want to self-analyze or whatever, you don't need to look at yourself in the mirror. Like everybody says, go look at yourself in the mirror. That doesn't help. Unless you just want to see yourself backwards, or you want to confirm you have a head. You know what I mean? Really, the measure is you ask yourself, if the world was filled with beings that acted and felt and thought just like me, would this be a better place or a worse place?
Moving to Florida.
I like that. Although I would say that toxic passed down, I'm just going to be a little more grown up than the adult above me, telling me that that's logical, right? Because if they want me to justify their bad behavior based on their trauma that they passed to me and took out on me, and then won't have resolution with me and won't excuse my behavior that mimics their behavior because of the trauma I was subjected to, I will not sit here not in judgment of a parent who chooses to not deal with their drama and continue to gaslight me on the passed down trauma, right? So I'll choose to be more grown up and say, I have no contact with people that can't be accountable, and not because I expect, oh, I'm sorry, I was a bad dad. I'm just like, even in an argument now, like even in the right now, right? Who participate in joy from the pain of the discomfort of whatever the energy is, you know, and for the sake of their spirit, because they're the ones who loses brownie points, right? With the maker, in my opinion, you know, for being incapable or for only continuing. So we're the villain in each other's story, right? I'm the bad guy to them. They're the bad guy to me. I know morally that I am not the one here who's in the wrong, even if I've done harm, right? But I do know on a spiritual front, if I continue to try and engage and persuade them, and they only have more opportunities to be mean and evil, right? They lose points, right? So it's their test, not mine, you know? And so I don't need them. So actually for me, for the prefix for, right? Like foreshadow is for a future event, right? So forgiveness, if you do want to go to these parables, whether we believe they were the right story or the wrong story, but if Jesus on the cross forgave the thief, right? And that thief, he didn't have any resentments towards the thief, unless they were talking about different crimes than we actually know, which is a different thing we could totally get into. I'd like to talk sup. I'd like to talk the word sup. I'd like to talk the word supper. Okay, I'd like to talk sacrifice, and I'd like to talk prostitution. But as an aside, and the changing definitions of those. But as an aside, you know, if we're talking about forgiveness being modeled by this benevolent, like, oh, it's okay, you'll be fine, you only stole whatever, right? Like, you know, he didn't have resentments, right? So if I'm sitting here,
you know what's interesting, real quick, when he was on the cross for forgiving the thief, he did not ask him the key questions like, hey, I'd like to save you, but were you circumcised? Were you baptized? What religion are you? He didn't put him through any of that.
Who did you vote for?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Rip off your loin. Somebody pull off his cloth. My hands are a little tied up right now.
Oh, I'd like to forgive you, but you weren't baptized.
Love Bexx.
So, and then even actually crucifixion. I'll get into crucifixion, right? And what that means in terms of making the mix. Asiste la cruz. Right. But anyways, aside, that was Spanish, not Latin in some weird distance. Anyway,
but it was important that I get that fitted to where.
No, I appreciate it. So with the forgiveness thing, right? So it's like, you know, so everyone's like, oh yeah, it's okay because he forgave the thief. I'm like, my dad fucking treated me like shit my whole life, still in the middle of a fucking pandemic, and called me with no concern, laughing and poking and prodding for his own gain, right? It's fucked up, right? It's just fucked up shit. You know, allegedly we're on the verge of death, Dad. You know, like, you know, so anyways, this forgiveness thing, right? So foreshadowing is to do, it's a for is a prefix that means like beforehand, right? Like, so even Jesus forgiving someone on the cross was actually proof that even though I could talk to about the whole reason why he's super important, right? Super important, right? Well, I think, but my point is even Jesus on the cross was actually saying, I will give back to the giver. It's fine, like, because you're going to the giver with a capital G, right? To be judged, And so I can forgive if I have faith. The word forgiveness means nothing but, I can get rid of my resentment, which I don't mean to minimize. We all need therapy, right? That being said, like with faith, those words really mean something different, because even if I sat beside even if God said to me, if he could, whatever, I'm just saying, if I was put in the position to be the judge, right? Just if someone said, oh, hey, here, you decide whether your dad gets to come play for all eternity or not, right? I would feel like in righteousness, I could look at that man and ask him a lot of questions about what makes him think that because he delivered a bunch of people and saved a bunch of lives, allegedly, you know what I mean? That he had the right to actually not, and had 8 kids, that he couldn't actually look at me, you know what I mean? At his oldest daughter. He went on to have 2 families. We've been invaded, friends, anyways, okay? Slow down, slow down. Okay. But I'm just saying, like, to be sat there and have you're sitting there, you can hardly buy tampons. Everybody thinks your dad bought everything for you because he's a doctor. But in fact, you got a job at 15 and were treated like a foster kid because your new siblings needed to, go to karate classes at 2 years old and needed braces in private school. And you know what I mean? And then you look like you're just being resentful when you even bring it up. Instead, you're never thanked. You're never thanked. Right? You're never seen as, it could have been done differently, right? You could have had kids that you just supported all evenly till they graduated, got jobs, and helped take care of the other kids, right? Like, right. It's a really fucked up
question, right? It's just
Pardon?
a simple management question at that point.
Yeah, and it does come down to some sort of classist system superimposed on us by people who used to give wealth to people if they gave their children. And maybe this sacrifice thing goes deeper than we know once they sign the birth certificate off, and we go start taking our first degree of Freemasonry in the education system.
Yep.
Talking about the strong man.
Your story is very similar to how my mom was. She shared with me when I was like 20 why I guess something came up. She didn't really like talk about her life. Something came up and I was 20, so she just kind of spilled the beans on her childhood. She's the oldest of 4, and her dad, very self-centered, not at all with caring, giving, kind of take care of everybody the same way, pretty much. My mom's the oldest, then it's her sister, and then 2 younger brothers. My mom was resented because her sister, who was the second born, was favored and spoiled in a sense, even just attention-wise. But my mom, she's the oldest, had to take care of her mom because she was losing her vision and take care of everybody. And if her sister was told to do the dishes and they weren't done, who got the blame? My mom. She was blamed for her sister not getting the dishes done because the dishes just weren't done. She was told something along the lines of, well, if she didn't do it, then you should have took it upon yourself to do it. And along with when she was 15, she got her first job and she was working at McDonald's because she had to pay for her own braces and had to pay for her own first vehicle. And she tells me, her dad, my grandpa, looked at her and said, well, if you're capable of doing this at 15 and 16, then you can start paying for stuff around here. And she stood her ground and she said, by law, you have to, whether I have a job or not. And I can pay for things that you aren't responsible to pay for by law. You give me roof over my head, food on the table, and the bare necessities. And that's how we're going to go about this treatment of their father-daughter relationship wasn't even bare necessities. But she had to go, by law, you are responsible for this. By the time she was like 16, to become like this kind of adult, to have this disdain, this hatred towards her own dad, which then she started to be resentful towards her mother for putting up with it. but she felt more because she was losing her vision. She was just in a lost cause situation, but she gets 16 and then having her own family and kids and telling me when I'm 20 to reflect on the fact that they got married because they got pregnant. So my mom had this feeling of being a burden that carried on through, for me,
I've been
more.
calling you Bex the whole. Should I call you Rebecca?
No, Bexx is perfect. Bexx is perfect.
Okay.
So to say like you said, super, like the reflection of what we struggle with as adults today is connected to our upbringing and our parents' upbringing. Because I've always hated the whole you can't blame your parents for everything. Get over it. Grow up and move on. Move on from what? You can't move on from something if you don't know where the problem is from. I'm recognizing where it's from, but I'm not sitting on it. I am not sitting on the fact that I am a little quirky and I feel rejection sensitivity to a higher degree than somebody else because of how I was raised.
Sure.
So it's like, it's a trigger. And they're like, oh, you're too sensitive. Well, then I'm going to own it. I'm too fucking sensitive. If you don't like it, I'll stop talking to you.
And that's the deal. You know what? I'm too sensitive. You're not sensitive enough. You're too much. You know what? You're not enough.
That's right.
I noticed a long time ago that is one of the quintessential differences between people and animals. Is animals want to see other animals happy, unless they're hunting or there's some
I was going to say, unless they're hungry.
mentality, right? But we as people want to change everything. So imagine you walk into your office, wherever it is that you work in the morning, and you're whistling and you're just feeling good. You're smiling. There's a bounce in your step and a glow in your countenance. What's the first thing your coworkers are going to say? What the hell are you so happy about?
They always ask me, what are you on?
They're going to want to do anything or say anything so derogatory as to hope to bring you down a notch rather than to say, man, what are you on? I want some of that. Is that the coffee? You know, because I usually don't drink coffee, but if it makes you feel like that, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
If you came in and you literally had a tear falling out of your eye and you were glum, couldn't hardly take your eyes off your own shoes, you'd rather be anyplace else but there. Your coworkers would say, well, what are you so down about? Here, let me get you a coffee, man. What's the matter? So it doesn't matter what mood you're in, they want to change you. That's what makes people different.
Although to speak so generally, I think we're getting back to the like my brother is cut from my father's end of the cloth, right? And we get down to like that's not the first thing I would say to somebody if they came in happy skipping and stuff. I would smile.
No, I'm
yeah,
different.
exactly, right, exactly.
I try to whistle along with them or fit in.
Yeah, it excites me. I mean, I walk down the street looking for eye contact. I'm looking to read people.
Yeah.
I'm looking for information out of everyone all the time, everywhere I go. You know, like
connected.
And yeah. It is a hyper social, it's a hyper anxious, super hyper rejection sensitivity response.
Well,
actually,
clearly you're an empath because those are all traits.
But that's what I was going to say too, that, you know, because we can, and that's why I know my spirit was given my father as a spiritual path of most resistance since I was young, like a little child, because I honestly, until a few years ago, that's why I can have these harsh lines now. I quadruple loved, I infinitely tenfold, whatever, double loved everybody on this planet, everybody, till I found out what they were fucking doing.
Yep.
Okay. And I studied economics to understand what makes the world go round. But when I coined the term pedo-industrial complex, right? Like there's a problem. You know, when we're trading on a stock exchange where all these people's RSP portfolios are tied up in things like Pornhub, there's a problem, right? There's a problem, you know, like
when financial investors are calling your money storage a hedge fund, there's a problem.
Yeah. When they think that they can just, change a word. Yeah. Have us running around correcting each other words. It's unhoused now. Didn't you know? You know, like it's like I won't go any further. I'm gonna start to cry. You know, like fucking assholes. Seriously, right? So, but these people, right, they've been buying our brothers, okay? They've been buying our sisters, right? Everybody's selling out. I'll tell you, even look at the language of scribe and subscribe in this territory here, right? So we got these.
Submit. I hate that one.
Yeah, as soon as somebody starts to monetize, the threat of demonetization on this platform is what they're now under the puppetry of.
Yeah.
Right? So even the goal to monetization is actually under the threat of demonetization right from the outset, right? So now you've got someone who's subscribing, right? Now that's to subscribe someone is who's the scribe that I am actually studying under. Okay.
And to show you it's a game, when you do something wrong, what do they give you? A strike. It's like a baseball game. 3 strikes and you're out, right?
Well,
So
yeah, and this
game, that's why courts are a game. A court is a place that you hold a game.
So is a place where you do legal stuff. Whatever that legal stuff is that people does over
legal
there.
Game.
Yeah. But this scribe stuff, this subscription stuff, this that's what's making people think this, people think this tool is so useless and so evil. And, you can't even posit the idea of, what if like angels are actually holograms from technology? What if angels are actually the name of the angles of the light system? And, what if this is actually a gigantic, like, what if this is like, how they say like meteors flying through space or whatever is like, collect stuff and become like rocks. It was like this, but now it's like, it just looks like a rock or whatever. I don't even believe in that stuff, but I'm just saying that here, what if the architect, what if the mainframe that this grid system sits on, right, is like, it's soiled, right, from all the disaster, right? So what am I trying to say? I'm like that this, it's part of the architecture of it all is all part of this. This isn't my idea complete. This is not my idea. Angel particle matrix, APM, FPV angel particle matrix is actually what they look at these systems as technology, as light-based technological system. I could find it. I could find it.
The channel, yeah. I haven't. I know of the channel. I haven't gotten into it because I feel like my brain is like, you need some other baby steps.
It is there. Yeah.
So you brought up the word subscribe, and we talked about entomology earlier. Subscribe means to underwrite or to sign underneath, putting yourself in a lower position, right? So sub means below, scribe means right, to write under or underwrite.
Yeah, but we also have to take a page from. Considering they used to like use blood to write on animal hides, which might be something kind of satanic, right? Like, but still, whereas we actually don't really understand the image part of the whole like metaphysical, biochemical, alchemical, all those new words kind of thing that we're, trying to put into this crystal matrix that is us beyond the biology they told us we are, right?
Yeah.
So we have to take a page from the game I never played, like D&D and stuff like that. Like a scribe is a form of a magician.
Right.
Like a sage or a scribe or a magi, right?
Magi, right.
Yeah. So what they're getting us to do actually is control each other and not just, okay. So I'm just saying there's a bewitching going on in the subscription process of this and the subscriber count, right, that misuses a holy technology. I'm just going to call it that, a holy technology against us, right? So, and we know it's a holy technology because we can be like, oh, hey, tomorrow or in the next few days, I'll be like, oh, it's just, think about this. And then suddenly like, Joe's like, oh, hey, here's Sidewinders, whatever. Like, I'm just saying, like, we are connected. We're on frequency, right? Like,
next level. Yeah, no doubt.
And we can thinking about it. I thought at content creators, right, in 2023, 2021, one was Bexx and one was Michelle Gibson, right? I could go back and find the conversation, right? I actually spoke to Bexx out loud and then had a situation with him, but moments later, right? And was like, I just fucking said your name, man. Right? You just put out a video, And with Michelle Gibson, I thought you need to look at 1492 to 1942 because I was consuming information at 1.5 speed so fast that I can't do it now, or I wouldn't be able to be on panel. I talk so fucking fast. But I can now listen at 2 speed if I need to. And I want to so bad, but I'm not allowed to. Okay. So, but yeah, so this, where was I going? This subscription. Oh, so Michelle Gibson. So I said something out loud to her, or in my mind to her, you got to look at 1492 to 1942. And I'm not saying like it's my idea. We got to get over that shit. The very next video she put out was like, so I've been looking at 1492 to 1942, the 490 years. And I was like, fucking A. But now as I'm telling you the story, I'm like,
that energy frequency of like a thought pattern that's there. I've seen it through other channels.
I'm the subscribe. I gave her that power. I gave her that contract, whether she knows Freemasons can set that up. Like, I'm not trying to be all like, everybody get off YouTube. They're stealing our thoughts.
If you think about it, and there's anything to astral projection, I've talked about this on other streams, and it's a very controversial thing, but it's not just in astral projection. You'll find it in many belief systems that our physical avatar is connected to our spiritual being. Call it a soul, call it whatever you like. And that the two are separated, or there would be no need for the silver cord. In other words, if your soul was in your body, there wouldn't be any need for a connection between the two. Does that make sense?
What's the silver cord?
Huh?
What's the silver cord?
That's the connection between your spiritual entity and your physical avatar.
And where does the reference come from?
The reference would be your eternal soul. That would be wherever else it is. I don't know.
No, I mean, where does the idea of the silver cord come from? I've never heard of it.
You'll find that in several belief systems, but mostly people that talk about astral projection, outside out of body experiences.
It's what keeps you tethered to the body while you're traveling.
You could call it like keyed on DNA or whatever, so that you're connected to only your body. But there's 2 points, 2 ends to the silver cord. One in your soul, wherever that is, and one to your body, probably the pineal gland, I would guess. I got so tied up in the description. What was the point I was going to make?
So the silver cord is like an unseeable thing?
Yeah, it's just what they say that allows you to.
It's not physical.
No, people, once you travel out of body, you can look back and see your silver cord. So it's invisible to us in this realm. But it's not an invisible. It's a tangible thing.
Yeah. What were you? I can tell you what you had started saying. You had started saying that we know for sure that our body and our spirit are two separate things, because when you fly out of it, you can see the silver cord connecting your body to your spirit.
Yep, you did it. You fixed me. I was broken and you saved me. Thanks, Pat.
You're welcome.
So it's easy to conceive that if that's true, our two souls, yours and mine, Rebecca, for example, could be sitting right next to each other in that other place. Right? Like you could have done that with Michelle Gibson, right? Your two souls are united because traveling in that form is at the speed of thought, they say, which is like instant, right?
Yeah.
So your soul travels to where her soul is. You have the thought, the two souls pass the idea, and that's already in the avatars because the silver cord's another instant link, right?
Yeah.
So like, when we think of telepathy or that sort of thing, I don't think like, I feel like you're north of me, right? You know, like if I did like a two-handed scan or whatever, I'd kind of like beep, 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 I'd beep to the north. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think I would have to send signals in that direction to send you a mental message. I think I would send it up to my soul. My soul would find your soul, and they would exchange the information. Then you'd get it in the avatar, right? I think that's
Mhm.
how ESP works.
Mhm.
This is insane because this is how crazy my mind works.
Oh,
Earlier,
your mic is getting even lower, Joe. It's been a little low
uh,
the whole stream, but you're really, really light now.
we'll do that.
Before you went on a
Alrighty.
tear, I didn't want nobody to
How
hear it.
is that better?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
There. Alrighty. So earlier today, we took the computer system out here. And of course, you have to undo the cords, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you're
yeah.
moving it over. So as you were talking, I'm sitting there going, one of the things that JJ complained about is my inability to correctly hook a system up without the cords being so freaking intertangled with each other.
Right, cable management. Right.
Exactly. And while you were talking, I'm sitting there laughing on the inside, going, "Can you imagine all these souls with silver cords being twisted around each other,
Yeah.
trying to get to these destinations, and you got millions of these cords just all
Yeah.
freaking interlocking, and they're like stuck, right? They're like, I can't get there, and you're like, well, I'm going this way. No, I'm going this way." And
And
it's
all the
just like,
souls get angry and they holler, Joe! Because they know you did it.
right? Oh my gosh, that's great. That's how my mind was kind of working as you were talking. I'm just sitting there imagining
A pile of
all these
twisted
millions
cords.
of souls just trying to go to wherever destination, and they're all freaking tying knots around each other, getting mad at each other,
Like a
going,
bad
"I'm trying to go this way."
switchboard operator. That's a great visual, man.
Oh,
So,
I got the whole picture, dude. That's awesome.
isn't that hilarious?
it is funny.
Oh, but it's weird. That's crazy the way my mind. That's my mind anyway. It's weird, but that's what I like about having all these conversations is we all have, like I said, that different lens and different filter, and we can all see it from different perspectives, and it's like I love it. See, I love conversations like this
Oh, me too.
because there's no reason for the bickering or any of that. It's no, man. Let's just get out here and
Well,
talk and have good conversation and just see where it
you know,
goes.
we could start a new hashtag when people are freaking out on stream, right? Be like hashtag didn't you hear Jerry Springer died? Maybe the spirit of him should have died with him. Should we put the spirit of Jerry away now? Right?
Ah, jeez.
Not to blame Jerry, okay, because a lot of them were doing it. It's just that Jerry amped it up. We didn't know everything was staged on Donahue, right? We all of it. I found Ellen introducing white privilege in a dressed as a little sailor girl, okay, in her little Dory voice, being like, "I know I'm privileged, but these people are fucking playing us, man." Like, anyways, Jerry Springer, though, he definitely, that was all totally staged, right? Just like all those game shows and reality shows. That's why we're all out here on YouTube trying to actually get our real reality fix. And that's why out in Booby Tooby land, people want to actually be out there producing skits that then suddenly people jump up in the middle of, and you're like, oh, afterwards. Oh, afterwards you get out of that skit, you're like, oh, this isn't. Then you go do some research. You're like, people are doing full on productions out here, you guys, right? Like, You know, there's full-on productions going out here just to play that. And I get that some of it's to teach lessons. I watched a lot of these really energetic men that have reputations on YouTube or whatever. I followed the whole communities, you know, like I really enjoy learning up from the brilliant minds that can get so excited and work out that energy, just like, and not to put it all on Jerry Springer, right? Because actually there's always human behavior patterns to be learned, right? They're teaching at every step along the way. I swear it, even with the productions of the skits and stuff, but still it's a heart rate thing for me, right? Like that's a conditioned response, you know, that, you know, we could really.
It's very primitive in nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's acting without thought, which is immoral.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think before you react. Otherwise, what are you basing your actions on? Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially,
and I love
the people that are so fragmented. If we were making physical decisions based on what our brains are doing, we'd be a mess, man. I have to analyze everything I'm going to do and have a plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, exactly.
Focus.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and then a lot of people, you know, when I did stand-up comedy, I didn't like going back and listening to myself. You know, although sometimes, you know, I didn't do it enough because I really did well a lot of the time, you know. And then here in YouTube, you know, it's especially not being a content creator, you know, I definitely make a point of going back and listening to myself on panels and definitely learning from the feedback given to me and also trying to make sure that, you know, you try and figure out what kind of conditioning you want to do to yourself, you know, who you want to sit beside based on who people are willing to have up because of who they know or because of who they, you know, it's just, you know, I'm just so blessed to be welcomed on so many of the panels, you know, and love the fact that there are the ones that, you know, you can hop on and be a part of all the drama and hop off and know that the good-hearted nature of so many people's there, you know. But it's like, yeah, it just feels like it's a little bit performative.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it's a little bit performative. It's almost like it's a waste of our time.
Yeah, and I was going to say that the biblical description of the word communion, I think, has been hijacked into something cannibalistic. Eating flesh and drinking blood is not something that I want to partake in, but I take communion. When you take the word apart, it's common union. It's what we had here tonight, a common union among people that have so varied an outlook, right? Without any friction. I think, you know, it's safe to say that we all learned a little something from each other that makes it worthwhile. And maybe somebody along the way will, you know, that listened tonight in chat or that will listen to this, you know, sometime in the future or whatever, will come away with a tidbit as well. Maybe a higher thought.
Better communication skills.
Yeah. The patience to listen.
Yeah, people have gotten too quick to turn from something, right? You know, like I sat for 2 years listening to a man preach. We called it a conspiratainment channel, and I had so much fun in that channel. You know, it was a Bible study, sort of like, not really, but kind of like Wi-Fi, sci-fi, decode the Bible with someone who actually knew quite a bit, but from the evangelical Christian perspective, Reformed evangelical Christian perspective. Like he wasn't anymore, but he had that background.
Quick, change the channel. Hold up. Hey. This must never be seen by anyone.
Why? Here goes. I sped. I followed too closely. I ran a stop sign. I almost hit a Chevy. I sped some more. I failed to yield at a crosswalk. I changed lanes in the intersection. I changed lanes without signaling while running a red light and speeding.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You!
Yes?
Not you, him! What's your name?
Me.
Yes, you!
I am me. He's me. And I'm you.
Names. You, me, everybody!
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.